I will do a quick write-up with the facts that I'll publish on my website and X. But also, the more fun part is we're going to do a show about it. Either it'll be on Rumble for sure, and obviously I'll co-stream to X and Locals and Twitch. But the interesting thing is that a lot of people wanted JFK dead. You know, am I allowed to say that? Well, it's alive, so worst thing is they take it down, right? But they wanted him out of the picture because and Castro. And here's what happened, because when Castro actually took over Batista and those communists, right? They were running amok in Havana with drugs and casinos. And let's go back to 1960s. In 1962, like 1961, let's say, 1960 actually, it was, right? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head because I don't have the documents with me. But anyway, Aristotle Onassis lost $6 million in Cuba. In fact, the people that were investing with him there, get this, was Joseph Kennedy, JFK's uncle, Hughes, and freaking Nixon. And not only that, as vice president, Nixon was the one that orchestrated the Bay of Pigs. But when JFK became president and Nixon lost to JFK, but then became president after JFK went away, so weird, right? He asked him to implement the Bay of Pigs, which in turn was a potato, which was done on purpose. So, why is he barking? It's just deer, honey. Okay. So, this is going to be so smashing because it puts the pieces together, but more so shows just how the drug trades have been dictating a lot of the politics and how our politicians are all deeply involved in this movement. If you go to ToriSays.com, you're going to see an article that I wrote about Bill Barr and Mina, Arkansas, and Noriega. That was a real factual with documented evidence. You know, they were running the drugs in our country, the Clintons. But the Bushes are freaking even more terrible because they were running, you know, World War II. In fact, I urge many of you, you know, when we talk about Nazis, to take a look at an executive order that was put out by President Roosevelt in 1942, confiscating all of the wealth of George Bush's daddy, Prescott Bush, because they were funding the Nazis. It was one of the biggest psychological operations ever in order to create nations, change borders, and, well, just create the 51st state without calling it the 51st state. So I digress. The JFK thing is going to be insane because now a lot of things are going to make sense. And a lot of people are going to realize that this movie you've been watching has been in the making for about 60 years. 66 to be exact. So weird. So give or take, Mayish, June-ish, it should be over by then. Things will be kind of, you know, leveling out. But I just can't believe I found that, you know, the fact that the CIA would actually go and punish a country they had no qualms with. Oh my God. I want to say it, but I don't want to. You know why? Because I posted enough to let new experts come through where they all pretend they're experts and they use the information that they find and then they elaborate on it. So I gave just enough to trip them up and make them fall so we can actually see better too. But this is incredible. And just remember, Jackie Kennedy / Onassis is consistent. Alexander Onassis, just like JFK Jr., when his plane lifted off, just after it lifted off, it crashed. Almost identical to what happened to Jr., isn't it? So weird. And then you have to think, did Joseph Kennedy orchestrate that too? I don't know. I mean, that kind of sucks. If you have family, that would take you out. I don't know. But those files, you know, are talking about personnel and stuff. You know, we had a House Permanent Select Committee on Assassinations. There were a lot of hires, fires, changing around salaries. And the funny thing is that the people that were running the clerking and the staffers that they had all worked at Quantico before they went there. So they were qualified to be on this 2-year committee. Also, just so you know, the Martin Luther King Jr. Assassinations were also discussed during that time with that committee. Were also discussed during that time with that committee. That the ones that did it